Natalie from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Sunday, January 22nd. So the moon is going to be in Aquarius all day. Of course, we just had our new moon in Aquarius early last evening. And with this new moon energy, we're still in the dark phase of the moon. There's still not a glimmer or a shimmer of light in our night sky, which means that we still have a little bit of sitting to do, a little bit of reflecting to do, a little bit of contentment to actually align with and absorb before we can actually move forward with some of the ideas and intentions that we should have been visualizing under the peak energy of the new moon. We have Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius season, of the new moon in Aquarius, going direct today after about 5.5 months being retrograde in Taurus energy. If you want to go ahead and take a listen to that astro forecast, we do a little bit more of a deep dive in what that actually means for us collectively and individually. But just know that there is going to be a lot of electricity in the air. A lot of nervousness, anxiety, restlessness. Why? Because Uranian energy is electric in nature. It affects our central nervous system. And where Uranus is kind of shaky, building up towards this wake up, if you will, coming out of the unconscious slumber of a retrograde and finally catching a little bit of a forward momentum type of situation, we are going to have Uranus kind of shake his head, kind of, wake up, try to get his bearings. And with that, there's going to be this burst, this intensity of first trying to piece everything together. And second, really kind of take this energy and create an outlet for it. And we're really not in a time of action. So we're going to have to learn how to manage that restless anxiety type of anticipatory, excitable type of energy within us. It can manifest in many different ways. But seeing that we are in the dark phase of the moon, I would kind of be inclined to think that we're going to be on the not so nice spectrum of this electricity coursing through our bodies. And I would assume that instead of excitement, it would manifest as anxiousness. Instead of, high elation, I would expect that this would manifest in a little bit of nervousness. However it manifests, it's going to be a shift. We are going to need a little bit of time to actually adjust to this particular shift in energy. But Uranus going direct means that there are no planets left in a retrograde, and we are going to get a very small window of time and opportunity over the next 3 months to make a lot of progress. We have no retrograde planets holding us back in order to do that. So hopefully you've taken the time over the last couple of months to really strategize a plan, a vision, a path, a direction, because we are going to see a fast forward motion take place now that Uranus is going direct, bringing a lot of rapid moving events and circumstances and storylines. And we are going to have to kind of expect the unexpected where Uranus is concerned. So there are 11 different aspects here today. 7 of them involve the moon in Aquarius. And of course, with the moon being in Aquarius, we are emotionally detached so that we can kind of align with the highest form of our intellect, act as the observer, really get a bird's eye view of what's going on in our heart space, in our head space, and of course our physical realms. Because this Uranian energy that we're very much under the influence of with all these Aquarian placements is about really understanding where progress is needed. We may be illuminated, gaining huge amount of clarity and insights on where it is that we have a desire to be better and to do better. And of course, strategizing on how it is that we're going to bring some of those changes to life. So the moon is going to semi-square Neptune. Neptune in its place of power in Pisces energy. A semi-square is a little bit of a tension point, and right now we're having a hard time aligning with our intuition. We're having a hard time trying to visualize, having a hard time trying to kind of gain perspective on where it is that we want to go from here. That's just a test under this new moon energy, because the whole focus, the whole potency of this new moon energy was to visualize on a dream, on a vision that we actually wanted to manifest. But sometimes we get too stuck in our intellectual mind and we kind of close the door on the magic of the cosmos. And that would definitely be the Neptune in Pisces energy. Things can become a little bit overwhelming. We're lucky that the moon in Aquarius allows us to have a little bit more of an emotional detachment, because there's a lot of things coming up in our unconscious mind, triggering us in order to bring that into our awareness. And because of that, we have this want, need, and desire to just curl up in a ball, disassociate, live in la la land until these hardships actually play out and clarity is actually provided. Now, Mercury is going to semi-square with Venus. Mercury, of course, just fresh out of his retrograde in Capricorn energy, the great manifester of the zodiac. We have Venus, the goddess of love and beauty and worth and pleasure and money, in Aquarius energy, kind of, experimenting and sorting out new worth, new values, new wants, needs, and desires where relationships are concerned. Let me just say that this interaction is likely to create a lot of misunderstandings, highlight a lot of indecisions that we have coming to our headspace, coming to our heart space. We're definitely not on the same page here. And even more than that, we're disconnected from our emotions, disconnected from our heart space because of all these Aquarian aspects. And that makes it really hard to kind of figure out what it is that our heart is asking us to do because, of course, Mercury is more in a place of power than Venus is right now. And he's all about the lower level intellect, what makes sense, what is logical, what is practical. We're removing the emotional factor and just focusing in on the details. And of course, that can be a little bit cold, a little bit rigid, and feel a little bit disconnected from what it is that our heart actually wants us to pursue. The moon trines Mars. This is a great energy. We are thinking long term. We are really focused on what it is that we want to see happen. Mars, of course, ruler of our physical energy, our drive, our passion, is in this Gemini energy, now direct, really wanting to align with a path, a choice, a decision, an idea, a project, a goal, and stop at nothing until we actually achieve it. Now, this particular energy works very well for us because we have the higher mind that, of course, the Aquarian energy rules over. We have the lower mind that, of course, the Gemini energy rules over. And we have a whole lot of inspiration, motivation, passion, desire, even a little bit of frustration fueling this inner fire needed in order for us to kind of prepare ourselves to take great action, make big moves on actually going after what it is that we want. The moon will be making an awkward interaction with Mercury. Our heart and our head continues to kind of have this conflict, this indifference. We aren't really able to kind of bring the emotional realm into our contemplative state of being. We have the moon in Aquarius trying to think long term. We have Mercury in Capricorn trying to think long term. The difference is the Aquarian energy thinks that anything is possible. There's no limits. There's no restrictions. While this Capricorn energy that Mercury is in is a little bit more conservative with our dreams, with our visions, because we see the limitations, we see the blockages, we see the obstacles, we see the restrictions that we're going to face in trying to bring some of these elements to life. So, of course, there's like this realistic vibe coming from Mercury being in Capricorn, and there's this unrealistic vibe of the moon being in Aquarius, and that is where we find our conflict. The moon is going to square off with the true node. Getting into the boxing ring with our soul path, our destiny point, isn't going to feel good. A lot of that is because we're focused so greatly, so far into our futuristic plans that we're missing the smaller details that are needed in the here and now in order to actually get us there. We don't know what our first step is. We're just focused on the end goal. And although it's great to have that great big picture, that great big vision to keep us inspired enough to actually take the actions needed in our day-to-day life in order to actually manifest that, we do have to kind of bring ourselves back into this present moment and focus on what it is that we have control over in the here and now, and what we can start doing in the here and now to actually build the system, the structure, the foundation, the bridge needed in order to actually get us to where it is that we desire to be. The moon will sextile, which is a great energy, with Chiron, the wounded healer. This suggests that we see a huge amount of growth take place, mostly because we have left a lot of the heavier energies back in Capricorn season where they belong. We're feeling lighter, we're feeling brighter, we're feeling more positive, we're emotionally detached so we can kind of, sort through our emotions without being kind of caught up and suffocated by them. We are seeing where there's been a lot of healing, a lot of growth, but we're also seeing where it is that we still need to pour a lot of time and energy into, kind of, I'm going to say, healing some of the identity aspects that many of us are struggling with right now. We just jumped into a new timeline. We all have new soul contracts, but we don't know who it is that we are. We know who it is that we're not anymore, We know who it is that we don't want to be, but piecing together who it is that we have now become is still a little bit difficult. We're still waiting on a little bit of insight as far as that particular topic and theme is concerned. The moon is going to square, get into the boxing ring with Uranus, its ruler. So it's always a little bit more intense when the moon in a particular sign faces off with the ruler of the sign that the moon is in. This is Uranus's last aspect before going direct. So we have to assume that we're a little bit edgy, we're a little bit impatient, we're feeling that anxiousness, that nervousness. I want to throw anxiety in there. I want to throw excitement in there as well. Although, again, I feel like we're likely to manifest the not so nice, the shadow realm parts of this energy. Getting into a square with Uranus, most of the time Uranus provides us with an aha moment, an epiphany that changes our inner realm, our perspective, our perception, our understanding of past events, changes and alters the path that we would be taking and creating and moving forward. But a square means that we're not really coming up with some profound aha moments here. We're actually moving into a state of chaos. Now, keep in mind that chaos always takes place right before clarity comes. It always gets darkest right before the dawn. We move inward in order to really see where it is that we're a little bit cold, we're a little bit rigid, we're a little bit hesitant to change, we're overwhelmed with the chaos of our emotions, and we're kind of battling it out right now because, of course, we're emotionally detached, but that doesn't mean that we can't feel the depths, the weight, the intensity of the confusion coming over us in our emotional realm right now. And it happens at such a time that Mercury actually goes ahead and trines the true node, which is going to help us out a little bit. Why is that? Well, because Mercury, who is in Capricorn energy, is thinking long term and is kind of solving some of the problems that likely would have been ignited and triggered with this square with Uranus. And a trine is a good energy. It means that we're blending and harmonizing our energies. And this time we're blending it with our soul's path, our destiny point. So this means that we're having I'm going to say, a semi-aha moment. We are recognizing where it is that the first step is needed. So we spend some time focusing in on the bigger, greater, grander picture. Now we're focused on, well, what can we do about it? What can I take control over right now? Where can I boss up and, take a little bit of power back? Where can I formulate a little bit of a baby step of a plan to actually move forward? We're having a lot of realizations in the here and now, not what could possibly be in the future, but realistically what we can do in the here and now. 4:03 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Uranus is going to go direct. It is highly probable that for about an hour and a half prior to this peak energy and probably an hour and a half after this peak energy, that everything is going to feel a little bit dizzy, a little bit cray-cray, a little bit overwhelming. If you haven't listened to this week's Ascension forecast, please do so that you know the list of Ascension symptoms that will likely manifest in our physical bodies due to these energetic shifts. Again, Uranian energy affects the central nervous system, so we have to kind of expect to feel on edge, a little bit jittery. There's a lot of impulse control that we're going to have to really be aware of moving forward, and it is likely going to be a time where our headspace is feeling a little bit spinny, a little bit dizzy. We have Venus coming up to, bumping into, conjuncting with Saturn. This is a big deal because it gives us A, a little bit of clarity, but B, through the form of a little bit of a bitch slap of reality, if I'm being honest. This is a reality check. Now, this is putting us in a very interesting situation because Venus, as you know, in Aquarius energy, she isn't really caught up in the emotions. She's trying to intellectually process and compartmentalize her thoughts, her feelings, and what it is that she wants, needs, and desires out of her life and out of her relationship. Now, we are going to gain some clarity on what it is that we want, need, and desire in our lives as far as safety and security goes, as far as support and encouragement from our loved ones go, as far as what we need to do with our finances. There's a lot of clarity coming in, but like I mentioned, it comes in the form of a bitch slap of reality, and that never feels good. Saturn likes to give us the tough love life lessons to really push us to our breaking point so that we can make some very thoughtful, very mature decisions about what it is that we are going to do to try and balance the scales of our personal relationships. There is this tug of war that can manifest in a couple of different ways. First of all, it can really show us where it is that we want connection, we want intimacy, we want a bond, we want to take the next form of commitment in our relationships. Or it can show us where it is that we need more space, where we need more distance, where we need to be independent, maybe where we just need to kind of ask for a break, if you will. Whichever way this manifests for you, it is coming in a form of a quote unquote test, a test to see where our heart space actually is, a test to see where in our relationships we are pouring into relationships that will be pouring back into us, or being tested to show us where it is that we're asking for someone to meet us halfway and they're making no energy or effort at all to even hear us, let alone meet us at the point that we need to be met in. This doesn't feel good. It's heavy, it's weighted, but it's life. It's real life. And we are going to get a little bit of a dose of some sobering truth on where it is in our relationship dynamics that maybe some boundaries need to be implemented in order to protect ourselves and provide ourselves with what it is that we're not getting from the people that we will actually want to receive this kind of love, safety, security, support from. The moon is going to semi-square Jupiter shortly after, and let me just say that Jupiter tends to magnify things, tends to turn the volume all the way up on some things. And we're having a little bit of an identity crisis right now because, again, many of us very attached to some relationship dynamics, not knowing who it is that we would be without them. And having this little bit of a reality check is putting us in a situation to contemplate, well, if I do disconnect from this relationship, what am I going to do? How do I put myself out there? What am I going to go after? What does this mean? Like, is it worth sacrificing this relationship that's been around for a while just for me to go out in the world and experiment with what it is that makes me happy, that brings me a sense of joy? Or am I just willing to ask for some space and continue this relationship and see where my individual path takes me? Either way, it is a full illumination on where growth is needed. It is rapidly changing our belief system about ourselves, about the people that we're sharing our time, energy, and love with. And it is putting us in a overwhelming situation. And again, lucky for us that all this Aquarian energy is helping us to emotionally detach, because Jupiter is really turning up the heat on us trying to figure out what it is that we need to do to create a little bit more space in our lives to explore what it is that we want, we need, we desire.